It's really important, especially when you are talking about technology with your partners, to communicate really clearly and to express why it matters without too much technical jargon. I think AO has recently done a really good job of that, and it has worked on me at least. And I encourage you guys all to do that with your own communications, to strive for empathy and inspiration, and above all, clarity. Remember that words have diminishing returns. Don't use too many of them. Where you can, I encourage you to use examples and use illustrations. Two things that I'm not doing a lot of in this presentation, but I encourage you to do it when you can use an image or an illustration. Go for it. Um, Great deal making is also positive sum problem solving. I said earlier that I thought determination was one of the key reasons I've been successful in BD, but it isn't determination to make money, and it isn't determination to close deals. And I don't think it should be for you either. For me, it has been determination to create value. I think it's really, really fun to when one plus one equals three. That's just that I really just get a rise out of that. That is what I wake up for. And if you can bring that kind of energy into business development, I think you'll be really successful. The best deals are wins for everybody who's involved. And you should ask yourself, how can I solve a problem for my partner that doesn't create a new one for me? Or how can I bring value to them in a way that isn't subtractive for me? How can we create new value together that wasn't in the world yesterday? And this is really important. I when I hear we're at an obstacle or at an impasse, I'm inspired to look for creative solutions. And usually it's in some unusual connection of dots that you've been gathering in your information gathering. So always be optimistic about the ability to find solutions and create new value. Um, the, uh, the eighth lesson, this one I have found to be an entrepreneur's greatest challenge. On one hand, you have a plan, and you know that you're supposed to be focused on your plan. You've got a vision for your product, you've done research, you're bringing this product to market, or you know you're going out to get a certain kind of new capability, or whatever reason might be motivating you to go to market for a partnership. On the other hand, while you were in the market, you maybe discovered a really big opportunity. The BD process is a dialogue between what your vision is and what the reality is that you learn on the ground. You cannot be overly distractible, but you can't be too dogmatic either. You have to stay somewhere near the path that you set out for yourself, unless you make deliberate choices to leave the path. But in the meantime, you can use partnerships to broaden your path. And here's maybe a little bit more tactical tip. If you are finding that your sales cycle is short, meaning it only takes you a short period of time to close a partnership or even get to know, then you can afford to be very, very focused. You can what they call niche down, because you can eliminate possibilities quickly and move on. But if your sales cycle is very long, my advice, and this isn't everyone's advice, but my advice is to cast a wider net, because it's possible that you will spend 8 months pursuing one narrow strategy if you niche down too much, only to find out that it was the wrong strategy. So with longer sales cycles, I recommend casting a wider net. Um, and always incorporate your product team early as you are making these discoveries. You don't want to give them whiplash, and you don't want them to get too rigid or too tied to anything. And you also want to preserve some space in the roadmap for what you're going to need for your partnerships. Um, When you do think of partnerships, think of them holistically. Of course, you might be going to market primarily for revenue, but you might determine that a partner has something else that could be really valuable to you, like data or capabilities. Think holistically, and that opens up the possibilities of what kinds of value you can exchange. When I keep talking about dots to connect, these are the kinds of dots you can connect. Well, they might come up short on the payment you wanted, but they're going to bring a lot more to the table in the form of credibility and so forth. The flip side of this, though, is that partnerships always cost more than you expect. And you should not lose sight of opportunity cost. You can only do so many partnerships as an entrepreneur, as a startup. So choose wisely. Um, Lesson 10. Money is noisy. You cannot buy product market fit. And if you buy partnerships hoping to find product market fit, you will notice that the money is so loud that it's hard to hear the signal of PMF through it. I think there's a lot of that going on in Web3, where there are like token giveaways and airdrops and all sorts of ways that people are incentivizing others to join their product or their ecosystem. And it can give you the illusion of product market fit, which can quickly disappear when that same disloyal audience moves on. It's the same thing with enterprise or B2B partnerships. If you pay somebody to be your friend, are they really your friend? That said, that doesn't mean you never pay anybody, because you can buy nice things with money. You can buy credibility. If it's your first partnership ever, and and you're an AI company and it's Nvidia, and they said if you brought a little money to the table, then we would partner with you. It's something that you might want to seriously consider. Um, you might also choose to de-risk a partnership that you have a great deal of confidence in its ability to earn revenue for you or your partner by paying them something up front. So, we call that a minimum guarantee. I'm going to pay you $100,000 now, but I'm going to take the first $100,000 off the table when it comes in as revenue. You may have advantages or disadvantages in information, and that might be why somebody's offering you too much money or too little, and see if you can close those gaps. And finally, when you have what you think is sufficient information, I recommend always going first in a negotiation if you can, and trying to be on the extreme end of what will be determined as reasonable by your partner. You don't want to be an asshole. You don't want to ask for $1 million when $50,000 is reasonable. But you probably do want to ask for $49,000 if $50,000 is reasonable. You don't want to ask for 20 when you could have maybe gotten higher in the spectrum. So there's no science determining, well, actually there is. In some cases, there is an exact science, but rarely do you have the information to be exact about the value of a deal. So you have to use your gut and just try to stay, away from being an asshole. We'll go right up to the extreme edge of reasonable. Number 11, believe it or not, some great deals are too good, and some great deals happen too soon. A great deal, for example, let's say you do as I recommend and you go to the extreme end of what you think is reasonable, and your partner says, okay, I'm in. Well, it might turn out that they are overpaying or that they've got really unfavorable terms once reality sets in. And you can keep collecting all the way until their early grave. You don't necessarily, sometimes you may, but usually you don't want to burn out your partner or burn out the partnership with too great a deal. So just be mindful of that. The flip side of it is you might think, wow, what a great deal. What a great opportunity for my company. I'm just this little company. I'm going to get to partner with this big company. But if you're not ready for the operational burden, it can burn you out. So be careful. Great deals can sometimes be albatrosses. You want to be careful. I recommend gaming out the spectrum, the range of possible outcomes, and making sure that you can survive and your partnership can survive if it needs to anywhere within that range. And if things are not looking pretty, it's okay to adjust course. It's okay to not be too greedy, or it's okay to ask a partner for relief. Nobody's going to be impressed if you just go down with the ship, or if you let your partner go down with the ship. And to that end, the signing of the agreement, that's the starting gun. A lot of BD people think about that as the finish line, because they are BD people. They love to close deals. But your job is not to just start partnerships; it's to start successful partnerships. And that means being prepared before the deal is ever signed to deliver with absolute excellence. Your prospective partner is going to watch how you do that with your current partners, and when it comes time for renewal, they're going to remember how you operated their partnership. Details matter. You should sweat them. And here are a few areas where I recommend you pay close attention. You should take really good care of managing your partner. You should have awesome customer service that you can scale up quickly if you need to. You should remember that there will be financial operations, and professional people on the other side are going to judge your professionalism when it comes to financial operations. You want your product team to be on board with the product commitments you're making. And I have found that design is both an amazing way to differentiate your product and your business, and it's also a very common bottleneck. So make sure you have sufficient design resources for whatever you're doing. We talked a lot about partner feedback sprinkled throughout this, but it bears emphasizing. It's not very useful. In fact, I'd say it's useless unless you actually close the loop and deliver that feedback to your product team. You should track it in writing. You should track your product team's response in writing, and you should hold each other accountable. It is a feedback loop, but it's only a feedback loop if it operates with kind of a lubrication of operation. So make sure it's working that way, and do your part to make sure it is. Just two more, and then if there's time, we can talk about any questions you might have. One, number 14. Web3 can seem scary to traditional enterprises. I've been trying to cross the chasm to the mainstream since 2018 when I co-founded the working group for NFTs and blockchain at the MBA. And it's gotten easier. It's gotten a lot easier, but still hard. And a big reason why it remains hard is there's just been a lot of sketchy behavior, scams, you name it. It's perceived as very risky, but you can get ahead of that. You can get ahead of that by emphasizing the pedigree of your team, your partners, your investors. You can get ahead of that through compliance and security. And I recommend literally getting ahead in the sense that you are anticipating these questions. And before anyone even has to raise it, you're talking about things like compliance and security. And you can get ahead of it by always embodying professionalism, polish, and attention to detail. I can't tell you how many decks I've seen where there are just things that are a little bit off, a little misspelled, or visual typos or glitches that could have easily been addressed. It just made everything seem a little less professional. To me, I think your process, your presentation is going to be projected by your partner onto your product and your partnership. They're going to assume that your lack of attention to detail here translates to a lack of attention to detail in your product or vice versa. So be as professional as you can be. And then last but I don't think least, culture is destiny. We talk, people talk a lot about culture of companies as being operating systems. I think that might have been Steve Jobs who said that. I don't remember. Maybe you do. But it's just as true of an ecosystem. And in some ways, it can be hard to start, just like anything in an ecosystem. But once it gets rolling, it can be reinforcing. So the 19 or 20 of us who are here have an opportunity to shape the culture of the ecosystem that we're all joining. I think we should be deliberate about it. I think we should act with integrity, with humility. A lot of people in Web3 are kind of jerks and very competitive and very defensive. We don't have to be that way. I have found Arweave and AO to be incredibly welcoming, incredibly honest, to have incredible integrity, and I think we can do our part to continue that. Let's remember that we're building for more than just money, more than just the success of our individual companies, but for a greater purpose. And let's try to be the rising tide, right? Not just to sit like a passive boat on it, but to be a force that lifts it by creating value together. Let's look for partnerships here in these 19 people and these great new companies. Let's find ways that we can create more value and bring a brighter future to the Arweave and AO ecosystem. With that said, I'm happy to answer however many questions you have. I don't think I have any hard stop. So I think we formally have 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but I'm happy to go on beyond that if there are questions.
Amazing. Yeah, we got a couple questions in here now. Um, Let me read them out to you. Okay, so first question. Hi, Jeff. With your role as Chief Business Officer, are you looking to connect projects running on AO with corporates, or is it to grow AO/Arweave? And what is the best way to get in contact with you?
Um, that's an awesome question, and it's on my mind. I don't think I have really formulated the answer yet. I need to talk to Jesse. I need to talk to Tate about that and really understand our objectives. But I can tell you the bias that I'm coming into the role with. The bias is to think, as Juan just said, very positive sum, and to think about being part of that rising tide culture that I just asked you all to contribute to. So I really just want to help you however I can. And a part of that will be maybe connecting you to mainstream enterprises. I have a big network with mainstream enterprises, but part of it might be within Web3, where I know Jesse and Tate and even I have a pretty robust ecosystem. So really all of the above, I think. Exactly what shape or form that will take, I don't know, because I haven't even had my first day yet. This is really my first, responsibility as a in this new role. But I'm really, really excited to jump in, and even informally, if you have anything that you need my help with, I'd be very happy to help you with it. I don't know what my email is. I don't know what my email is at Community Labs. I don't have an email yet, believe it or not. But I will make sure, I promise you, that when I have one, Jesse will send all of you my email and my contact information, and you can reach out to me, and I will make time for you. I promise. Maybe Tate, can you make me an email? Maybe he already did. I don't know.
I think it's usually first name, first initial, last name, but actually it's quite
Okay.
different for everyone on the team.
Okay. Cool. Cool. I just want to
Um,
be Jeff, but if I'm Jay Marsilio, that's cool too. What else? Any other questions?
um, yeah, the next question is, so with corporates versus SMBs, in regards to seeking customers from them, so how do you approach basically the difficulties of speaking with bigger companies versus the smaller perceived value of dealing with SMBs?
Um, it's a terrific question. So um, I tend to think. Do you remember my metaphor where I talked about connecting dots and making a constellation? I tend to think almost in stepping stones or dots connecting. Um, Usually, my job depends not just getting one partnership, but getting lots of partnerships. Right? We're taking a product to market, or we're building out the capabilities of our company. So one partnership can help me advance toward getting my next partnership. And it's a big part of what I consider when I enter a partnership. Will this help me along my journey, along my path to my next partnership? If it's taking me backward, or it has enormous opportunity cost, or it's going to, take me a lot of time, those are considerations. Really big companies, especially really big, more traditional companies, will generally have longer sales cycles than smaller businesses. You have many decision makers, and it's it depends. Just like all of these things depend, but it tends to be longer. The other thing is we perceive it as having a ton of value, and it often can. Maybe they can pay us more. Maybe they can get us more press, but they also could probably give us less attention. And when we're early, when we're a young company, we may need more attention. We may want a real partner who will go arm in arm with us to market. So, as I said earlier in the slides, I try to think about these things holistically, all of the factors. I think about go to market as not just one partnership, but many that can connect and create a beautiful picture. So sorry, that's not really a hard answer. Partner with small companies, not big ones. I think that you can, in your early part of your process, you can cast a wide net and start learning about what sales cycles are like and what the different kinds of partners are like. And then when you get answers that you like from one or another cohort, double down there. But there's really, unfortunately, no one size fits all answer here, I don't think.
And what would you say is essential to say in your first message when contacting a partner for the first time?
Um, so whether or not, so it's really important. That's a great point, Juan. And just sorry, Jesse, but just to Juan's point, partners who can grow with you, partners maybe who have product market fit that you can complement. There are many factors there, but I do like that idea of growing together, and I think all of us here can grow together. Um, to the latter question, it matters a lot whether you know this person, whether you've been introduced to this person, and whether it's a cold outreach. But um, think about all you're really trying to achieve is going from that outreach to a meeting. Okay, so don't boil the ocean with this email. In fact, at every stage, you're just trying to get to the next stage until finally you're negotiating a long form agreement and you've done 4 terms, and all you need to do is sign, right? Don't try to jump all the way to the end or convince them of every reason why they should try to be your partner. Be concise, talk about what matters. You need to establish, depending on whether you've been introduced or not, your credibility. And there are different ways to do it. It really depends a lot on you. It might be that you just left a really impressive job to start this company and you might want to share that, or maybe your company got some cool press or has some great investors. uh, you want to tell them why the meeting should matter to them, and probably it's some sort of opportunity space that they're focused on or some problem that they're trying to solve. And then finally, I think you should ask for time. And this is very tactical, but I think you should offer specific time. You should do both of the following. You should give them specific times you can meet, and then also tell them when that you are very flexible and will meet on their terms if none of those times work.
Nice. I used to have a sales job, and our best performing outreach email was like 2 sentences, 3 sentences.
Yeah,
Um,
I try to keep it
but anyway,
pretty short. I mean, I don't do a lot of cold outreach, and I haven't had a lot of luck when I tried. But actually, I advise you to exhaust your network and the network of your network as much as you can. Don't exhaust them literally, but you use them before you, or at least in conjunction with cold outreach, because it's so powerful to get an introduction or to know somebody before embarking on this BD process with them.
and when you say partnerships, are you using partnerships and B2B customers interchangeably?
Partnerships and B2B customers. Um, yeah, I'm using it pretty interchangeably. So in some cases, and throughout this presentation, I tried to use the term partnership or customers. Try to use the term partnership rather than customers. I hope I didn't mess up and use customers, but partnership to mean partners who might be paying you for something, or partners who you might be paying for something like a capability, or partners in many cases where money isn't exchanging hands, but value is being exchanged or created. And I don't distinguish it too much because at the end of the day, it's all about value creation for both parties. I do, at least in my own kind of life, I do distinguish a little bit between BD and sales. I don't think I think everything here probably applies to both, but Sales for me has always been a more unilateral process. Like I have something to offer you, it doesn't change, and I want you to pay me. And what you pay me is fairly fixed, right? So it's kind of more of a numbers game, much more unilateral, not nearly as positive sum as the bilateral game that we play when we do business development. It's a very blurry distinction, and I'm not sure it makes much difference in practice. But for me, I've always thought of myself less as a salesperson and more as a business development person.
I think that's it for questions. Um, Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for that presentation. That was a topic that we haven't really covered at all throughout the program. So I hope that everybody um, found that very useful. I know some of the people in the program are kind of in this stage right now where they have an MVP and they're approaching people. So um,
Amazing,
it's very timely.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So thank you.
It's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard to write lessons that will apply to all of you, but hopefully you found a few pieces of wisdom in there somewhere.
Yeah. One
Shall
more
I
question
just? Oh,
um,
okay.
from Juan. So a lot of first contacts now happen through DMs on Twitter or LinkedIn. Should your next step be getting a meeting or just starting a chat?
Oh man, great question. If it's a chat platform, um, yeah, I would go for a meeting personally, but I'm a little bit more old school. Like I get DMs and I do DMs, do DMs. Can you tell I'm old? I DM, but I don't conduct a lot of business that way. I imagine others do more, but I kind of find it to be too familiar and too easy to dismiss someone, and too hard to keep their attention and overcome objections, or to gather the kind of um, you know detritus information that you can use to connect dots and create new value. So I think it's just try to jump on a call personally, but it probably, like everything else, depends.
I think one there. Um, so thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone else, for being
My
here.
pleasure.
Um, so just a few updates for everybody here. We've
I'll
received
stay
a
and,
lot of
and
your
hear
demo
them.
day recording submissions. Yeah, yeah. We received a lot of your submissions, which we're still evaluating, and we'll have updates for you guys soon. As always, we're excited to see how your projects develop, and we're here to support you in building out the PermaWeb. More details on Demo Day coming soon, and we'll see you guys in Keynote 11 this Thursday. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jeff.